Hello everyone, welcome to my now 7th, I think, update for Pandas eyeshadows. This project was created by Alexie. I'm going to leave her channel down below. But what this project is, it is an eyeshadow penning project, as the name would suggest. And the way it goes is you're supposed to randomly select an eyeshadow, and some people do 4, others do 5 eyeshadows, some do 6. It depends on how many you're comfortable with. And the goal is to hit pan on them. And once you did that, you can replace them by a different eyeshadow, which you would also hit pan on. Some people do usage goals. I don't, but yeah, that's just something to mention, I guess. But yeah, anyway, I'm very excited to share with you my progress, so let's just get into it. But as always, before we get into the shadows, obviously, I wanted to mention once again that there's still a war in Ukraine, so if you would like to help, I'm going to leave places you could donate to. I don't think I'm going to leave my Google Doc with petitions this time, because I feel like all of them are really old at this point and I haven't added any new ones, so I'm not gonna add that Google Doc this time, but once or if I find any new petitions, I will obviously link it. But yeah, any help would mean a lot, so thank you so much if you do help. But yeah, let's just move on to the project update. Alright, so as always, I'm going to talk about my shadows from the oldest to the newest, and by that I mean like the ones that have been in the project for the longest time and the one that's been rolled in relatively recently. So the first eyeshadow I'm going to talk about comes from my ColourPop Blue Moon palette, and the shade is called Typo. I've used it a total of 12 times, and here is what it's looking like today. I hope you can see I did hit pan on it, which I'm very happy about. Do you see it? I hope so. Yeah, so here's what it looks like swatched out. So what can I say about this shadow? I wouldn't say it's my favorite shimmer in this palette. It's kind of dry and not too shimmery. You definitely need to use some sort of base to put it on, like a glitter glue or something, which is what I did to make it look opaque, because otherwise it's kind of sheer and not very, it doesn't look really nice. So how I used it that I liked the most is actually doing like a one shadow look with just like mascara and a pretty like basic face, like some blush and also like fake freckles and bleached brows, which I've been really into lately, like fake bleached brows, like the way people do them with concealer, if you're familiar. Today I haven't done them, which is funny, maybe me saying that I'm really into them and not wearing them today. But anyway, so that was quite pretty, and also I used it twice on my nails. I have it on my nails today, but it looks pretty rough because I've worn this nail polish look for like, I don't know, maybe 5 days. But yeah, excuse my nails, how chopped they are, but that's how the shadow looks like as a nail polish, and I really like it that way. It's pretty nice. So when I rolled in this shadow into this project, I was a little on the fence about it but now that I know how I like to use it, I'm actually really into it. So that's one of the beauties of this project. Is that how you say it? So yeah, since I've hit pan on the shadow from this palette, I'm going to be rolling in a replacement for it in the end of the video, so stay tuned. But let's just move on to our next shadow. Okay, so the next oldest shadow that is in this project currently comes from my Juvia's Place the Nomad palette. I've used this shadow 4 times and it's been in this project for like 3 months now, so not the best progress, but here's what it's looking like after 4 uses. Not too impressive, but I feel like you can kind of see like a small dip forming, but that's about it. I want to hit pan on this shadow by the next update, so hopefully that happens. I've hit pan on a Juvia's Place shadow in this project earlier this year, but it was like a regular bigger sized circular pans from Juvia's Place. So I'm wondering if these, because these are smaller, so I'm wondering if these are the same depth as those. So if you happen to have hit pan on the bigger circle pans and the smaller ones, let me know if the pans are the same size, or I mean not size, depth. But yeah. What else can I say? Oh, did I show you the swatch of it? I don't think so, but yeah, here it is. It's just like a good staple deep brown shade. I think I'll be able to hit pan on it by the next update. I think so the other shade that I hit pan on from Juvia's Place in this project, it took me 15 uses, so if it's the same as that one, I will need to use it 11 more times the next month, or about 11 times, so hopefully I'll have pan in the shadow by the next update. But let's just move on to the next shade. Okay, so the next shadow that I have in my project currently comes from my Focus palette, which is Me Menu by The Balm. The shade that I have from this palette is called Matte Wood. I used Matte Wood 13 times, and here is what it's looking like today. I hope you can see there's like the most, like the tiniest possible pan in it, but it's there, so I'm counting it in as a pan and as a rollout. So yeah. Here's what it looks like swatched out, and as you can see, it's very similar to the Juvia's Place shadow that I talked about just like a few minutes ago. So this is the reason why my uses on the Juvia's Place shadow aren't that great, because I was focusing on this shade because I know these are easier for me to hit pan on since they are more powdery, even though I feel like these pans are way deeper than the Juvia's Place one. Yeah. The reason why I also didn't expand the pan properly is because this is my Focus palette, so I'm going to reach for it anyway. So I think I'll be able to expand it organically. So yeah. That's that. But yeah, I'm going to roll in a new shade from this palette in the next section of this update. I don't know how to call it, but we only have 3 left, and I feel like we have 2 pretty challenging ones and 1 regular shade. So I'm a little nervous, but I'm glad to see this many pans in this palette because this is my oldest palette, and yeah, I I want to use it up eventually. I don't know how that's gonna go, but let's just move on to the last 2 shades before I blabber on more. Alright, so the second before last shadow that I have in my rotation currently comes from my ColourPop That Stowe palette. It was rolled into this project the last update, as far as I remember. The shade that I have from this palette is called Snake Eyes, and I've used Snake Eyes 3 times, and here is what it's looking like today. So as you would imagine, after 3 uses, it's not that incredibly used. But yeah, here's what it looks like swatched out. It's a nice kind of mauvey cold-toned shimmer. It works really well with these browns, so I think it's like the perfect time to have the shadow in. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. It's a better quality shadow if you compare it to the one I had from the Blue Moon, but it's a neutral, so, and as I mentioned before, I'm not the biggest fan of shimmery neutrals unless they are more on a deeper side, and this one is more like a mid-toned one, as you hopefully can tell. So I feel like it's going to take me some time to hit pan on it, but I'm not worried about it now because it's been in the project for just, what, 1 month? So, yeah. Let's just talk about our last shadow and then we can finally roll into new shades. Okay, and finally the last shadow that I've been working on for the last month, which was also rolled in last month, comes from my Menagerie x Annette Serenity palette. The shade that I have from this palette, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, is called Chrysalis. I've used Chrysalis 5 times, and here's what's it looking like today. There's no pan in it, but I don't know if you can tell on camera, but there's a bit of a dip in it, which is nice. I think this is currently my favorite shade in the color story. Here's what it's looking like swatched out. It's a very pretty fuchsia shimmer. I quite like Menagerie shimmers. I feel like it's kind of an unpopular opinion, especially when it comes to palettes that came, the Serenity palettes and the ones that came before it. I feel like a lot of people feel like those shimmers aren't that great, but I personally really like them. I think they sparkle very beautifully and they're very pigmented. They might be a bit soft, so you have to be gentle with them, but I can't talk today. I personally don't mind that. So yeah, obviously since there's no pan in the shade from this palette, it's going to stay in, which I don't mind at all because I enjoy using it. So yeah, let's just get on to arguably the most exciting part of these updates, which is rolling in a new shade to replace the ones that I hit pan on. Okay, so I have my pre-random app ready. I'm going to start by rolling in a shade from my regular spreadsheet, and then I'm going to roll in a shadow from my focus palette. So yeah, my minimum is 1 and my maximum is 1242. I added 2 new palettes in my collection. Am I ashamed of my number getting higher? Yes. Do I love the palettes that I got? Yes. So anyway, let's just roll in a new shadow. So it's going to be number 868. Okay. And now let's do my focus palette, which is going to be 1, 2, 3. So just 3, 1 out of 3. 1 out of 3, yeah. So Which one is it going to be? Oh, 3. Oh no. Okay, let me just get the one new shade and we will talk about them. Okay, so I'm back with my one new palette. So let me just show you to it. So the shade that I have in my spreadsheet under the number 868 is called Army, and it comes from my KKW Camo palette. So we're getting a pretty neutral color story this time. So which shade is Army? Let me see. Okay, so Army is this green actually, so not too neutral. I was worried it would be one of these like warm brown mattes, but this is actually pretty good. It's a nice sage green, so would work great with that brown we have from Julia's Place. Okay, I was worried, but now I'm actually kind of relieved. And I guess this won't be as interesting or as, I don't know, as much of a surprise, because I think you all know which one is the number 3 shade. It is Matte Lombardy, which is a light yellowy cream color. It's probably like my least favorite shade out of this palette because I don't know how to use it. It is too dark for me to use as a blend out shade or like to set my lid, which I don't usually do, and it's too light to be put in the crease. So I think this one will be kind of a challenge to hit pan on, but I'll have to do it. So yeah, I'm just going to swatch out my new color story and share it with you, and also I'm going to talk about my the goal that I had for the year and how I advanced since then. So yeah, okay, so here is my new color story. Very much, you could say, cool tone neutral with a pop of pink. So let me just remind you once again what shade is which. So the dark brown on top here is Julia's Place Nomad shade, which is the 8th shade in the palette. Under it we have Snake Eyes from ColourPop, that's taupe. Under it is Chrysalis from Menagerie and Annette Serenity palette. Then we have our new roll-in, which is Army from KKW Beauty Camo palette, and under it, if you can see it, is Matte Lombardy from Meet Man Nude by the Balm. Yeah, so that's our new color story. Pretty shimmer heavy, which I feel like I didn't have that yet this year, so pretty interesting. But yeah, let me now talk about my goals. That was a horrible segue, but let's just get into it. So as I mentioned in the beginning, in the intro video, and hopefully in other updates, I wasn't too great at doing that, but my goal for this year was to have 50 pans in my whole collection, and if I counted my pans correctly, it looks like I've already hit the 50 pan threshold, which is great. And it's been what, like slightly over the halfway mark of the year, so I'm pretty happy. Now I just need to maintain this number, because I do try to use up some shades, so my numbers might fluctuate, but I don't mind that because I feel like I'll be able to maintain the number 50 and probably go above it, because I usually have like at least one shade rolling out for each update. So yeah, I guess that is all I was going to say, so let's just wrap up this video. Okay, so once again, here's my new color story. I think my goal for the next update would be to hit pan on the Nomad shade, and maybe, I doubt that that will happen, but also hit pan on the ColourPop Snake Eyes, because I feel like these two, they work very well together, and it would be nice to just like hit pan on both of them at the same time. So yeah, I didn't mention that earlier, but I have a dip in Matte Lombardi already, so we'll see how that shade goes. Maybe it will surprise us and it will roll out this project earlier. But yeah, I think this is it. So as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're doing good, and yeah, take care. Bye.